My name is Jamon McKinney, or you can just call me Juice because that is my nickname. Let's talk about the New York Football Giants and how they will fare during the 2020-21 NFL season. Let's get right to it. Now, New York Giants fans, I'm sorry. I tried my hardest to try to find optimism towards the Giants heading into the season. But I just can't find it. I can't find much optimism surrounding the New York Giants football team heading into this year. And I firmly believe this New York Football Giants team is just flat out not that good. They're just not that good. And I believe they're going to be among one of the worst teams in the NFL during the 2020-21 NFL season. I believe the New York Giants have by far the worst coach in this division at the moment. I know that Joe Judge has not, coached a NFL game yet. But at the moment, the gap between Joe Judge and the rest of the coaches in this division is very wide in my opinion. He's very unproven. I'm not sold on the defense at all. I don't think this team has much of a pass rush at all. And yeah, I just don't think this team is very good. Now, I want to address Joe Judge. I will say this right now. I'm going to preface my comments by saying I'm giving Joe Judge somewhat of the benefit of the doubt because we don't know what he's going to be as a head coach because he's never coached a game before. He's never coached an NFL game. So all of the things I'm going to say are assumptions and projections about Joe Judge. I will say he's not a lost cause, and I will give him the benefit of the doubt by saying he could prove me wrong because, like I said, I've just never seen him coach a game. So I don't know what Joe Judge is. I'm going to kind of try to project to tell you how I feel about Joe Judge and what he might be. And based on what Joe Judge is right now, he's going into a division facing 3 coaches 6 times a year that have been to Super Bowls. Doug Peterson has won a Super Bowl as a head coach. Mike McCarthy has won a Super Bowl as a head coach. And Ron Rivera is a 2-time coach of the year, and he's been to a Super Bowl. He's going into a division that's very well, that has a lot of good coaches, okay? And Joe Judge was reportedly supposed to take the Mississippi State head coaching job before the New York Giants started calling his name, okay? Keep in mind, Mississippi State is not even a top 5 school in the SEC, the conference they play in. Georgia's better, Auburn's better, LSU's better, Alabama's better, Florida's better. They're not even a top 5 school in their own conference. And you mean to tell me Joe Judge, who I didn't even quite know if he was ready to coach not even a top 5 program in a college football conference? You mean to tell me this guy is going to come into New York and change the fortunes of this franchise, at least in year number 1 in a division where 3 coaches have been to Super Bowls? I'm just not sold. I understand that Joe Judge learned under Nick Saban. I understand that he learned under Bill Belichick. Some of the Bill Belichick disciples have been good. Some of them have been awful. Same with Nick Saban's disciples. Some have been good. Some have been awful. And Joe Judge has been a special teams coordinator a couple years. I get it. But I don't even know if Joe Judge knows what type of coach he is at the moment. There's going to be some major growing pains with Joe Judge. And I will say, maybe Joe Judge has a bad, first year with the team, and he improves as the head coach the very next year. This is still 2020 we're talking about. So I'm not quite sold on Joe Judge. I just don't think that he's ready to be a head coach. He's very inexperienced, and he's going into a situation in which he's by far the worst head coach in his own division. Not to mention, we're not even talking about the whole NFC picture. And looking at Jason Garrett as offensive coordinator, I'm not sold on Jason Garrett as offensive coordinator. Jason Garrett last year didn't even call plays for Dallas on offense, okay? Mr. 8-8 Jason Garrett, who disappointed from time to time in Dallas as a head coach, is he the answer at offensive coordinator? I'm not so sure. Now, some Giants fans have told me that Jason Garrett has yet to have bad quarterback play, so that's one of the reasons why they believe in Jason Garrett. I think that a big reason why Jason Garrett has never had a dumpster fire at quarterback outside of a year in which Tony Romo, got hurt and he had a backup quarterback, which I didn't have high expectations for the team that year. I think that the fact that the quarterback was playing well, meaning Tony Romo and Dak Prescott, was due to the parts around that quarterback. Let's not forget, Tony Romo had Jason Witten, a Hall of Fame tight end for most of his career. He had a prime Des Bryant. And Miles Austin in his prime, he is very good. Dak Prescott has had above average running backs and weapons and offensive lines his entire career. So I don't think that Jason Garrett was the chef cooking up things in the kitchen. I just think these quarterbacks had good players around them and their numbers were just magically good. Okay? And looking at Patrick Graham, the incoming defensive coordinator. Listen, I think Patrick Graham is a solid defensive coordinator. He will be an upgrade over James Bettcher. However, he's coming into a situation this year where a lot of players that he's going to be relying on are young players. And due to this virus and this whole pandemic, these young players don't have normal off seasons. It's been a very weird off season as far as NFL teams go. So I don't know how well up to speed this defense is going to be under Patrick Graham. Not to mention, I don't think the defense is overall that talented. So I bashed the coaching staff enough. I want to get to Daniel Jones because I actually believe in Daniel Jones as an NFL quarterback. I think Daniel Jones has some talent. I think Daniel Jones has a chance to be a legit franchise quarterback. If you were to tell me, hey, Daniel Jones is your quarterback of the future right now, I wouldn't be doing cartwheels and front flips, as opposed to if I had a quarterback like Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes or even Kyler Murray, who I think is going to be a very good quarterback for a long time. I think that he's better than Daniel Jones at the moment. But I think that I could work with Daniel Jones as my quarterback. Daniel Jones had a very good rookie year. He went 3-9 as a starter, which I'm not going to hold that against Daniel Jones because he was on a bad team last year. And I've always said, take rookie quarterback success as house money because quarterbacks their rookie year are supposed to struggle because the NFL, the speed of the game is so, intense. The players are so good. And listen, if you're a high draft pick, which Daniel Jones was, aka the 6th overall pick, you're going to a bad team. And so I don't hold Daniel Jones' record against him. And listen, I was not a fan of the New York Giants selecting Daniel Jones, especially over Dwayne Haskins, who I actually think is going to be a better quarterback than Daniel Jones eventually. But that does not mean I'm out on Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones has some tools that I like. He had 24 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions in 12 games as a starter. If Daniel Jones played all 16 games, he would have easily broken the rookie touchdown pass record. So I think Daniel Jones has some real tools. I like his mobility. I think he's tough in the pocket. And I think Daniel Jones is a quarterback that I can work with, okay? He did struggle with some things. His fumbling issues last year were definitely an issue. He did have some, bad turnovers. He was inconsistent from time to time. He did struggle versus zone coverage last year. But Daniel Jones had to deal with a lot of injuries last year to his wide receivers, his tight end. Saquon Barkley missed games. And yeah, I think Daniel Jones can at least be a solid quarterback going forward. I think Daniel Jones has more of a high floor, more so than a high ceiling. But I think Daniel Jones has some talent. I'm encouraged by Daniel Jones. And I was not a fan of the pick, like I said. So we'll see how Daniel Jones progresses. I don't believe in his coaching staff, but we'll see. I think Daniel Jones has a chance to take a leap. But I also think Daniel Jones has a chance to maybe regress because he does have some recklessness to his game. The fumbles are an issue, the turnovers are an issue, so we shall see. Now, as far as Daniel Jones' supporting cast, I'm kind of hit and miss with it. Saquon Barkley is an absolute beast, okay? Saquon Barkley is one of the top 3 running backs in all of football. He's excellent. He was kind of banged up last year. Didn't have his greatest season. He's only been in the league 2 years, so, knock on wood there. But yeah, Saquon Barkley's a beast. And I think that if the New York Giants want to win games, they need to ride Saquon Barkley to the ground, okay? They need to get him involved in the passing game. They need to establish the run with Saquon Barkley and let Saquon Barkley take you there. You drafted a number 2 overall. Why not pay off that pick? So I think Saquon Barkley is primed to have a big-time season, especially if Daniel Jones and the Giants can get out to early leads. If the Giants fall behind in some games, Saquon Barkley is not going to be as effective because you can't run the football a ton of times when you're down a bunch of points. But we shall see. I think Saquon Barkley is great. The wide receiver core, however, I'm concerned about. I like Darius Slayton, don't get me wrong, but I think Darius Slayton at best is a number 2. Now, Darius Slayton showed some flashes last year, as a rookie. He had 740 yards, 8 touchdown catches. I think he has some talent, but I don't know if he's a true number one wide receiver. So I'm kind of just in wait and see mode with Darius Slayton this year. Golden Tate, I think that he's a decent option, but I do think he's well past his prime. He doesn't really separate very well down the field. He's gonna catch a lot of contested balls. Once again, he's not running away from defensive backs like he used to, but he's still a decent option. Sterling Shepard, he's good, but he's never on the field healthy. Same with Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram on the field, if you get a 16-game season from Evan Ingram, he might be among the league leaders as far as catches and touchdowns and yards for tight ends. The only problem is Evan Ingram up to this point can never stay healthy. And what if Darius Slayton or Evan Ingram get hurt? This wide receiver core is not that impressive. It's not that impressive with those guys in the first place. So I don't think the New York Giants have a ton of depth at wide receiver. Now I will say, you should keep your eye out on Benjamin Victor and Austin Mack and a couple of undrafted, free agents the Giants brought in at wide receiver. Those guys maybe can make some noise. I was a big fan of Austin Mack at Ohio State. I think that Benjamin Victor is not a perfect prospect, but I think he has some talent. Maybe he makes the team. So we shall see. I will say I'm not super high on undrafted players this year because these guys are not going to have any preseason games to prove themselves and because they will not have a normal offseason like per usual for NFL rookies. So we shall see. Now the offensive line, it's a very interesting unit. Now, Nate Soldier has opted out of the season for this team. I think that's actually a big blow because Nate Soldier, while he did not play particularly well last year, I expected Nate Soldier to actually have a bounce back season. So some Giants fans hate Nate Soldier. Some are optimistic about him. I understand that. But just his overall presence in the locker room as far as, being in that offensive line room, I think that that's going to be vital to a guy like Andrew Thomas and, guys like Will Hernandez, young players. And now you don't have that. So I think that's actually a big blow. Now the New York Giants did draft Matt Parrott out of UConn as a mid-round pick. He's supposed to be the guy that projects to replace Nate Soldier or play at right tackle. Maybe you move Andrew Thomas, who I'm going to get to in a little bit, to left tackle or right tackle, and then we'll see how Parrott does. But yeah, I think Parrott is a guy that has some talent. He's just not completely developed yet, and that's a concern because while Matt Parrott has talent, I don't know how well up to speed he will be as a rookie. So long-term success, pretty high probably, but short-term success for this year, Matt Parrott might struggle. Now, Andrew Thomas, that was a slam dunk pick for me. I felt that he's a great fit for the New York Giants when they picked him at number 4 overall. Personally, if I were the New York Giants, I would have taken Isaiah Simmons as a number 4 overall pick. But if you believe in Daniel Jones and he's your franchise quarterback, I think that taking the offensive lineman was the responsible pick. So Andrew Thomas, he should be a cornerstone. Obviously, you've got Kevin Zeitler, who has some talent. Will Hernandez had an up and down season last year, but I believe in him. So the offensive line is kind of hit and miss for me. It could be good or it could be bad once again. We shall see. Now the defense. The defense has some interesting parts. I think Dexter Lawrence is one of the most underrated young defensive tackles in the entire NFL. He had a great rookie season. Leonard Williams has kind of been labeled a bust at this point in his career. I'm not willing to go that far, but he has disappointed as a high draft pick. Maybe he has a bounce back season this year. We shall see. Marcus Golden being brought back was huge because he was the only true pass rusher that I feel great about on this team. The reason why I'm not super duper high on this Giants defense is because outside of Golden, I don't know where the pass rush is going to come from. Maybe Oshane Ximines takes a step this year. Personally, I'm not sold. Kyler Fackrell, you brought him in from the Packers. He's okay. I mean, I'm not super high on Kyler Fackrell. Blake Martinez at middle linebacker, I thought it was an okay signing. I'll be generous and say it was an okay signing simply because based on who the Giants had at linebacker before Martinez got there, I think Martinez is an upgrade. But I will say, Martinez is one of the more underrated, not underrated, I'm sorry. I did not mean to say underrated. He's one of the more overrated players in the NFL. Because, did you see in the NFC Championship game that Green Bay Packers run defense? Yeah, he was the leading linebacker on that team. And I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, so I saw a lot of Blake Martinez. And while he does get a lot of tackles, I'll call them empty calorie tackles, meaning the tackles aren't meaningful. If guys are running 20 or 30 yards down the field, who cares about the tackles? Martinez is not a big-time impactful player, and he's not very versatile. He's not very good in coverage, so I'm not super high on Martinez. I'll label that as an okay signing because he's better than what you had. Now, Jabril Peppers projects to be a Pro Bowl level player for many years to come, in my opinion. And I do think Xavier McKinney was a steal this past year. And you got guys like Julian Love, James Bradbury gets brought in this year. That was a very good signing. DeAndre Baker's career probably is over. So, you got some decent players in that secondary. But outside of Bradbury, I don't think you have a great defensive back at corner that I feel great about outside of your safeties. So with all that being said, this is a 4-win team. 4-win team. 4-win team, New York Giants fans. Worst head coach and quarterback duo in this division this year. I'm still not sold on the offensive line. I'm not sold on the defense. The schedule is brutal. That's mainly the big reason why I'm so down on the Giants. It's because I don't think the schedule is doing them any favors. And I don't think Joe Judge is ready to coach this team. And I think Joe Judge might fail as the Giants head coach. Now, let's go over the schedule for the Giants. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over each individual game and tell you who I would favor. I'm not going to tell you who's going to officially win each game. I'm just going to tell you who I would favor to win each game, okay? And things of that nature. So don't quote me on these things, okay? Pittsburgh Steelers, week number 1. That is going to be probably a loss. I favor Pittsburgh. They were 8-8 last year with below average quarterback play. I think Big Ben Roethlisberger comes back this year and at least gives them average quarterback play. And they were a better team than the Giants last year. No reason to think that they're not a better team right now. At Bears, I'm going to put that in the toss-up category. I don't think the Bears are great on offense or great at quarterback, so I could see Daniel Jones stealing a game on the road versus the Bears. San Francisco, that is probably definitely going to be a loss. The 49ers were just in the Super Bowl. That defensive line is going to eat Daniel Jones alive, in my opinion, so that's a loss. At Rams, that's probably a loss as well. As bad as the Rams looked at times last year, they still won 9 games. So I think the Rams deserve our respect. They're a more talented team than the New York Giants. That's a loss probably. At Dallas, I think you can actually split with Dallas this year. I won't be shocked if you split with Dallas. I'm not going to say it's officially going to happen. I'm just going to put both Dallas games in the toss-up category and say maybe if you get lucky, you can expose Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, who I'm actually not very high on this year. Now, Washington, week number 6, that's a toss-up game. I do think Washington is actually a bad matchup for the Giants simply because they have a very good defensive line. I do think Dwayne Haskins is a good quarterback. He was playing very good last year towards the end of the season. And I think that the Washington football team is going to be well coached this year by Ron Rivera. So I'm not confident in saying the Giants can sweep Washington this year. So I lean toward maybe a split. But I also won't be shocked if the Washington football team sweeps the Giants this year because I think that they're just a better football team overall. They got better players. At Eagles, I'm going to say that's a loss. Probably. I think Philadelphia's just a better team. Buccaneers at home. That's a loss probably for the New York Giants. The Buccaneers should be one of the better teams in the NFC. Eagles, I think that probably is going to be maybe a win. I think Philadelphia's a Super Bowl contending team this year. So I'm not confident saying the Giants can beat Philadelphia once this year. So I'll say that maybe if Daniel Jones breaks out this year, you can split with the Eagles, but I'm not going to bank on it. Again, I already talked about Washington. Bye week, Bengals on the road. I think that Joe Burrow projects to be a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. So I would actually favor Cincinnati over the New York Giants because it's on the road and Joe Burrow, I think that he's going to be a very good quarterback. But coming off a bye week, the Giants could maybe win that game. At Seattle, probably going to be a loss. That was a playoff team last year that just added Jamal Adams. Cardinals at home. I think the Cardinals actually can beat you guys once again, just like they did last year. The Cardinals virtually dominated most of that entire game. And I think Kyler Murray's going to take off this year. So I probably say that's a loss. Browns at home. Toss-up game. I think that Baker Mayfield's going to have a better season this year, but I'm not quite sure what I'm getting from Cleveland, so I'll put that in the toss-up category. Ravens week 16, that's definitely a loss probably. And then Cowboys last week of the season, toss-up game. So that's how I feel about the Giants this year. I don't believe in their coaching staff. I think the offensive line is hit and miss. I don't believe in the wide receiver core all that much. I think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback, but not a great quarterback. And ultimately, I just think the New York Giants are going to have a very tough tough time this year. I think they're going to win only 4 games this year, and I believe the New York Giants are going to go 4-12 during the 2020-21 NFL season. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.